Welcome to Mr. Biz Radio, biz talk for biz owners. If you're ready to stop faking the funk and take your business onward and upward, this show is for you. And now, here's Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth.
All right, welcome to another episode of Mr. Biz Radio. Mr. Biz Ken Wentworth. And we did a show a couple of weeks ago, I think now, that some of you hopefully have seen by now, and it was how to thrive during a recession. And so I think this week's guest we'll be able to tag right onto that and actually dive a little deeper into some of the things that I brought up during that show, that it's not a time to pull back. It's a time to invest. Don't spend money frivolously, right? You pull back the expenses that don't have an ROI, but the ones that have an ROI, there's going to be massive opportunity. And so this week's guest is none other than Mr. Hernan Vazquez. So I've known Hernan now for, oh my gosh, probably 5 years, I want to say. So he previously worked with an organization that I was part of, an inner circle group. Hernan would come on every Friday. We had a Facebook Friday. He would give tips. He was an amazing resource. So then I started following him on social media. And finally, I was like, man, I got to get Hernan on the show. So let me tell you a little bit about Hernan's background. So he's an investor, a marketing advisor. He's a co-founder and consultant from Buenos Aires, Argentina. So he's coming to us from outside of the U.S. He's an entrepreneur and digital marketing expert with over 13 years of experience in creating advertising and marketing campaigns that focus on bringing clients and students more clients, leads, and profit. Over the past 6 years, he's been responsible for over $60+ million in profitable social media ad spend and generated over $200 million in revenue for clients. He's the founder of ScaleDriven, a top-tier business development agency that focuses on helping companies increase revenue by developing better digital marketing and advertising initiatives. He has team members throughout the United States, South America, and Europe. And so his company works with clients worldwide. Hernan, welcome to Mr. Biz Radio.
Hey, Ken. Hey, everyone. Really glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So let's just dive right in and start off with, the intro's got some stuff in there, but, tell us about your entrepreneurial journey. How did you get to where you're at? How did you become a digital marketing expert that you are?
Sure. Yeah. And yeah, there's a lot there, but I'll try to give you the short version. And, I started this entrepreneurial journey 12, 13 years ago. And I remember that the first time that I thought that there was something going on over the internet was on Fiverr.com. I started on Fiverr.com, writing articles for people over the internet, charging $5 a pop. And Fiverr will take $1 out of the top. So you will end up with $4 per article. But that was pretty cool. And the first time that somebody over the internet, a complete stranger, gave me money, it was on Fiverr.com. And then I started believing on this, build your business online, make money online thing, whatever that was. Up from that point onward. And then, I've been doing a little bit of everything since then. I've written articles that took me to learn about SEO, that took me to learn about web design. So I've done web design for clients. I'm not a coder, I'm not a designer. I decided to go into SEO after learning how to write SEO optimized articles. So I did that for a while. And then I met these guys, this group of guys. They all had their own digital marketing agency, and I remember it was an Alex Becker mastermind. So we got together on that mastermind, and then we hit it off. We were all agency owners. We had our own clients doing different things, mostly SEO for other people, and that was my first company. And my partners at that time were from the US. And that was my first company that we founded. We launched our first info product. So I had the agency, then we started doing information products. And that's when I started doing Facebook ads, because we launched this information product for other agency owners and we needed traffic, right? We needed to get people to download our PDFs, our lead magnets. We needed to get people into our email list so that we can sell this info product and whatnot. So that's when I started doing Facebook ads. And once I realized the power of Facebook ads, I never went back. This was like, 7, 8 years ago. And I started offering Facebook ads as a service. We started, growing that company thanks to the power of Facebook ads back in the day. It was a completely different beast and game than what it is today. And then, I started helping entrepreneurs in Facebook groups and whatnot, getting better results with their Facebook ads. And that's where I caught the eye of Frank Hernan, which is where we originally met, Ken. And then he invited me to be part of his group first, and then started running ads for his clients, and then end up running ads for his own marketing campaigns and for his own products and whatnot. And then I started doing the coaching calls for him as well. And from there on out, I started working with people like Frank Kern, Grant Cardone, Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi, Russell Brunson, a couple of other big names over the digital marketing industry, but it was all based on, giving away a lot of value on how to run Facebook ads, how to get results on over the internet for business owners for the most part. And then, I helped several businesses since then on very different verticals from an agency perspective. And I've had my own digital marketing agency for the past 6-7 years as well. And now we focus on helping entrepreneurs learning how to run Facebook ads or just, doing it for them. So that's in a nutshell how I got to where I'm at right now.
Yeah, well, since I've been following you on social media the last few years, I keep seeing you every year at Brunson's event, getting your big old award, big giant award for the success that you had with ClickFunnels and whatnot. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, for sure. So, it's funny because I've been going to Funnel Hacking Live. I really like that community. I've been going to Funnel Hacking Live, I think every year for the past 4 or 5 years. And the first year that I went, it was with my, company that we were doing this digital info product and whatnot. And the first time that I went, I was like, hey, it would be pretty cool if we would get one of those awards that people are getting, right? And it's like, it looked like it's the 2 Comma Club Award or whatever. It looks like a platinum album. And then the next year we got it. We got the first 2 Comma Club Award with Semantic Mastery after generating $1 million in sales. It was all through the power of, paid advertising, digital media, paid advertising and funnels. And we were selling like low ticket products. Like we were selling $47, $17. I think our biggest product at the time was like $197 a month for our mastermind, but it was like all based on low ticket sales. So we got that. And then the next consecutive years were all about, getting that award and then pushing ourselves to getting that award. Then I got one we got 2 actually for the agency. And then finally I got the one that's hanging on the wall because the other one are in the States. But yeah, that has been pretty cool since then. So.
Yeah, well, that just demonstrates the success you've had. I mean, again, I say all the time, we don't bring just anybody on the show. Like this, Hernan's a real deal. Like he's been there, done that. And as I mentioned during the intro, this is what I loved about the group that I was in, and the advice that Hernan would give is I'll share this with you guys. For those of you out there who are trying to like DIY and doing your own Facebook ads or anything, you can certainly do that, right? You can go out and Google things. However, here's what I used to tell people all the time. Look, when you listen to someone who spent $150 on ads and says, this is what to do, or you listen to someone who spends $100,000, $200,000, $500,000 a month on ads, those people know what works and what doesn't. And that's Hernan. Like he's in this. So we are up against a break here. We're going to come back. We'll give the Mr. Biz tip of the week. And then we're going to dive in a little bit deeper into what Hernan does at ScaleDriven. You can find them at ScaleDriven.com.
If you would like to reach hundreds of thousands of business owners every week, Mr. Biz Radio can help. Our show airs globally 7 days a week for more than 25 hours across several internet radio stations, plus 20 plus podcast platforms. Also, video exposure on the new exclusive Mr. Biz Network streaming channel, which gets blasted to 100 plus streaming platforms, and the Mr. Biz YouTube channel, and our 350,000 social media followers multiple times every week. Join Mr. Biz Nation as an advertiser by emailing us at info@MrBizSolutions.com.
Are you ready to automate your business? Automation is the key to scaling a business and building wealth. It's also one of the most difficult things for a small business owner to do on their own. If you're looking for help with automation, Pulse Technology CRM can help. We have an exclusive offer for Mr. Biz Nation. We will build everything for free, even if it's a sophisticated funnel. Visit thepulsespot.com/Mr. Biz for this exclusive offer.
Got a question for Mr. Biz you want answered on air? Email it to info@MrBizSolutions.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to the show. It is time for the Mr. Biz tip of the week. And this week, this is one of my favorite tips. All right, so take your pen out. You got to write this one down. This is super important, and people lose sight of this. People hiring people, right? When you hire on character, loyalty, and work ethic. You know why? Because everything else can be learned. If you have those, unless you're hiring a brain surgeon, of course, right? You got to have some experience with that. But for the most part, most roles, you find someone that has those three characteristics, they'll learn anything. They'll work their butt off. You give them a new task, they're going to work their butt off to learn it. They'll be amazing employees. I learned this over, 2 decades working in the corporate world in a Fortune 15 company and hiring hundreds of people plus. Amazing. I'm telling you, you got to really think about this. Don't just look at people. Oh, I took this Excel class, or I took this class, I took that class. You can send them to a class. They can learn that crap later. You need to look for character, loyalty, and work ethic. So that is a Mr. Biz tip of the week this week. All right, so let's get back into talking about this, Hernan. So tell us a little bit more about ScaleDriven. What are generally speaking, what are the types of businesses that you can help the most?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so there are basically two levels of help that we offer, right, at ScaleDriven. One of them is, as I mentioned, as the digital marketing agency, the proverbial, we'll buy ads usually on social media. We became really, really good at that. And now I have a team of 4 or 5 media buyers helping clients. And we do that on behalf of clients, right? So they'll come our way. They want their ads managed on Facebook and Instagram, and we take care of that. And we report back to them. We help them with making their funnels better. We help them with taking a look at their entire business, see where to plug the holes, helping them implement all of that. So that's the done for you solution, right? The agency. And then there's another part of the business, which is much newer. I would say it has probably 2 to 3 months old. It's, we just launched it this year, actually. And these come from the great, I would say the great experience that I had, helping Frank students, for instance, and some other people, because I really enjoy coaching, I really enjoy teaching and all that. So it's the done with you part of our business. So I think there's an 80-20 split of the businesses that work with us. Some of them, or most of them, are entrepreneurs, whether that they are running ads right now and they need help scaling, because it's one thing to launch a Facebook ad campaign, it's another thing to scale without the wheels falling off, right? Keeping the profit, keeping the profitability, making sure that everything keeps on working. So we help them scale. So, and then there's some other entrepreneurs that they might want to learn how to do it themselves, right? Because they might be starting out, they've heard about Facebook ads, they're struggling with organic methodologies of generating leads, generating sales. So they want to accelerate that process. Or even they might have been burned with a couple of agencies. So it's okay, I want to take the reins back of my Facebook ads, or I want to hire, or I want to, have somebody internal that I want to train. So that's that. And then I would say 20% of the people that are coming our way are agency owners or media buyers that they want to get better at Facebook ads. So that's kind of the split. Mostly we work with entrepreneurs that either they need help scaling their campaigns, or they need help launching their campaigns, and we either do it for them or teach them how to do it.
Well, it's interesting. So it's good that you have both, right? Because I'm sure you launched the second this year because you were getting people saying, "Hey, I don't need this, but do you offer this?"
Yes.
And again, that's where Hernan and I met several years ago, and he's great at it. And he is really good at dissecting issues with ads. It would amaze me. And this is what you do when you hire an expert who does this every day. They look at this stuff every day. They're in the weeds with this stuff. Someone would come on with a problem. They call it the hot seat. So they would go live basically, right? Where we were going live, and then they would share their screen. Hernan would go into their Facebook ads account and pull up one of their ads. And I'm telling you, within 1.5 seconds, Hernan's like, "Okay, I see the problem." And he'd be like, "Oh yeah, you see that picture? You need to have a picture that does this instead of that, because we just found out that 6 months ago, that worked really well. But right now, the last 45 days, what we've seen is XYZ. You need to do this because that doesn't work anymore. And that's what I was trying to allude to at the end of the last segment is if you try to DIY this stuff and you go out and you find a video from 6 months, a year ago, that stuff changes. The Facebook algorithm changes, all the algorithm change. They all change so frequently. That's why trying to do it yourself oftentimes, unless you have access to that type of information, is so difficult to do, as opposed to someone like Hernan and people at his company that they live and breathe this every single day. And again, like I said, they don't spend $100 and say, oh, I got it all figured out. They spend hundreds of thousands of dollars every single month for clients across all different industries. So they know exactly what's working right now. So along those lines, Hernan, earlier today, I just saw you went live on Facebook and you talked about something that I think ties in. Well, I know ties in directly to the recession. And what I talked about in the show I did a few weeks ago about what not to do during the recession. So if you wouldn't mind, share with us, a brief edition of what you shared on that video.
Yeah, for sure. And I think this is a really, really important subject for all of the entrepreneurs that are out there listening to the show, because, in some way, shape or form, we're getting impacted, right? And I think that one of the things that I've learned from working with these big names and big dogs and big companies and big budgets and all of that is that no matter what happens, no matter what the economy does or what politics does or what's going on out there, is that they keep on advertising. They keep on advertising. They keep on trying to acquire customers over the internet. And the reason why they do that is I think it's really smart. Is because what happens during a recession is that you have a lot of people that tend to panic. They tend to shut down their campaigns. They tend to turn inwards. It happens at a micro level with micro entrepreneurs, with small companies, but it also happens at big levels, like big companies pulling their ads out of the platforms and whatnot. And what happens with that is that the cost to advertise based on offer and demand, it gets cheaper, because right now there's a lot of inventory that was being occupied by these big companies, big budgets, and all that, and now it's to the take. It's out there. We can go out there and acquire a lot of inventory, especially on Facebook and Instagram, Google, YouTube, and whatnot, that was being occupied by these budgets. So I've seen companies thrive and being built during the last quote unquote crisis. We've been talking a little bit about this before the show. During the pandemic, I remember that I was working with this client and they came to me. We also met, funny enough, we met at an FHL conference. And they cracked the code on a really good offer, right? They cracked the code on a really good offer and they wanted to scale. And as we started scaling, the pandemic hit, it was right in the middle of the pandemic. And they came to us with, I think they were spending $25,000 to $30,000 a month on advertising. That was their budget. But then we were able to scale during the pandemic and acquire a lot of leads and customers and sales for really cheap and scale them up to $1.5 million a month profitably on Facebook ads. So I know that we're coming into another break right now. So I want to elaborate a little bit more on why we made that happen, thanks to leveraging this pandemic and this crisis, if you would.
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing story. And there's all sorts of examples of this, not just in the Facebook advertising and digital marketing. I mean, it's all over the place, but especially in this. Again, like Hernan said, even the big companies, a lot of big companies are going to start pulling the reins back, right? So they're not going to probably eliminate advertising, but they're going to, instead of spending $2 million a month, they might spend $1 million. So they cut it in half. So like he said, a lot less demand. So cheaper inventory to get out there. So as he mentioned, we're up against a break here. We're going to come back. He's going to give us some tips on how to create successful social media ads.
How would you like to have direct access to Mr. Biz to help you run your business more profitably and more efficiently? At MrBizSolutions.com, you get live access to not only Mr. Biz, but also several of his hand-picked and trusted business experts, each with 20 plus years of experience to help you optimally manage and grow your business. That's just the start of where Mr. Biz Solutions begins. Learn more at MrBizSolutions.com. That's MrBizSolutions.com.
Business owners have a continually growing to-do list with little time for revenue-producing activities. With Check Off Your List and their experienced team of virtual assistants, you can focus on growing your business. Visit checkoffyourlist.com to learn how Check Off Your List skilled team can handle your day-to-day tasks like social media, bookkeeping, calendar maintenance, and much more. Contact Check Off Your List at checkoffyourlist.com or call 888-262-1249 to see how their virtual assistants can help you live to work rather than work to live.
Check out all 3 of Mr. Biz's best-selling books at MrBizBooks.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to the show. And by the way, I want to add, I just made me think about that. The intro to this segment, Hernan. I learned this from you guys. So you probably weren't even paying attention, but so that URL, MrBizBooks.com, right? I learned this from you guys. So I own, I don't even know, 50 URLs that are tied to the Mr. Biz brand. And all we do, we run ads, we run, audio, stuff like that. And we do redirects to, another page on our primary website. But I learned that from you guys.
I was about to mention that, it's funny. I was about to mention that how everything is brand and everything is easy to remember. So this is great. So I was about to mention that.
Yeah. And I see it all the time, even with some of the big names of, they have an offer and they go out to tomsmith.com/blah, blah, blah, /. I'm like, no one's going to freaking remember that. Right. Like you got to make it. I talk about this all the time, make it easy to do business with you. And that's one of the things I learned from you guys. I remember the first time I heard, I forget, you guys had some sort of offer. I don't remember what it was, but it was something super easy to remember. And then we talked about it, I think on a Facebook Friday or something about how, we just do a redirect. Cause I actually went out for the offer. And then I remember seeing the URLs like this long. I'm like, wait a minute. I didn't know anything about redirects. Right. So I learned that. And immediately I went out and started just buying them. And I do it all the time. I'd be like, I got an idea. And I'll go out and buy like 3 or 4 URLs or domain names. So I learned that from you guys. So I wanted to mention that. But so I wanted you, if you want, go ahead and finish. I know you're going to talk a little bit more about the recession and then give us some tips on creating the successful ads.
Yeah, for sure. So as I was mentioning, we were able to scale this campaign super big. And one of the reasons why we were able to do that is because since a lot of companies were pulling their budgets out of the platform, the CPMs, which is how much you're paying Facebook or Google to advertise on their platforms, they plummeted, right? And I haven't seen CPMs that low since I started advertising, because there's been a constant increase on, the cost to acquire customers on social media. I think I heard Dan Kennedy say once that the cost to acquire customers on social media was resembling right now real world cost to acquire customers, right? And what we noticed is that during the pandemic, the prices and the cost to acquire customers usually went down, which is for the first time ever that happened. And they went down during the pandemic. So this company was able to grow big time just by leveraging that opportunity, which I think it's what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks and couple of months. There's a big opportunity for us to double down on advertising, and following your rule of investing on those things that will give you ROI. I think that there's a big opportunity for entrepreneurs to actually leverage this and acquire a lot more customers for a lot cheaper, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a ton of opportunity, again, with things that can give you that ROI or ROAS in your world. Yeah. I thought it was hilarious when Frank actually got the ROAS tattoo across his knuckles.
That was great. That was great. That was awesome.
Well, so we've got a little over 5 minutes left, but so if you would, Hernan, give us some tips on some, a couple of things that we should be doing with social media ads to be successful. And then maybe 1 or 2 things that you see that like mistakes people make that are common.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great question. And I think that the first thing that I would recommend is advertise with a budget that you can sustain through time, right? It doesn't really matter. Like I get this question a lot. What's the minimum budget that I should be with, or what's the ideal budget? And that's a really broad question. And I'm pretty sure that your audience is really broad when it comes to niches and verticals and all that. So it really depends on who you're advertising to. But my answer to that is advertise with a budget that you can maintain through time. Campaigns, especially on social media, they do take time to mature. They do take time to collect data. They do take time to get you anywhere. So if you're going to be starting a campaign and stopping, which is something that I would recommend not doing, right? One of the things that I recommend never do is to start a campaign, and then a couple of days later, you stop it, and then you relaunch it, and then you stop it. That's going to get you nowhere. It's better to be sustainable through time and start with a budget, whatever that is. It can be, I don't know, $1,500 a month, or it could be $10,000 a month. It doesn't matter, right? It's whatever you can sustain through time, and think that this is a long-term play. Again, by working with these big guys in advertising, I always realize that they're in for the long run, right? So you can use advertising, especially social media ads, and you can reach a lot of people for relatively cheap still. And it's going to become even cheaper during this recession. But one of the things that I always recommend to clients and students, and something that we used to discuss a lot in our circle meetings, is how you can put your best content forward. If you can create content that's really, really helpful and advertise that content, right? Put advertising dollars behind that content. I think that goes a long way. Even if what you're doing is mentioning this easy to remember domains a couple times on the videos and whatnot, that in and of itself will give you traction. Then we can get technical when it is to what type of campaigns to run and whatnot. But I think that the main point is, put your best content out there, upload it to your Facebook page, and then you can run something called an engagement campaign targeting your ideal audience. That tends to work really well, and it's still relatively cheap to reach a lot of your audience. I think that we spent $5,000 over the span of a couple months for my business on one or two specific campaigns, and we had something crazy like 3 million impressions or something crazy like that on Facebook. So that's a lot of eyeballs, right? And if people keep on hearing your easy to remember domain, then guess what? They're going to type it in, they're going to visit. In fact, we used to get a lot of what's called quote unquote direct traffic, which is traffic that you cannot track through Google Analytics because people are actually typing in, MrBizBooks.com or something along those lines, right? So that's really powerful. And then I would say the third thing, when it comes to targeting on Facebook, targeting has become easier on Facebook. One of the things that has become easier on Facebook has been targeting. You can actually have a really successful campaign by applying some broad targeting. So let's say that you're selling to, you have a business to business offer and you're selling to other people that are advertising, which is something that I do. One of the targetings that we use is advertising, right? Or advertising campaigns or advertising marketing, like broad audiences like that, people, audiences that are in the 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 5 million people on Facebook, they tend to work really, really well. So I think that those three things combine with, when it comes to targeting, when it comes to putting your best content forward, and again, understanding that advertising at this point has become a long game. And then, of course, getting a couple of really easy to remember domains that you can mention over and over again, that will give you the initial momentum that you need. And then you can get technical, right? Another thing that I always recommend is to get mentorship, whatever that is. It's like get mentorship and follow that one mentor methodology and that one mentor way of doing Facebook, because again, there's a million ways to skin the cat. It's like going to the gym, otherwise you get conflicting information. So just focus on one methodology and one mentor, and that way you can reap the benefits of running Facebook ads over the long run.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. The easy domain names and all that stuff, I think, is really key. And obviously, I'm a fan of it because I use it all the time. But the other thing is, you don't have to sell hard. Like, it's not like these cheesy salesman stuff. Like, if you have those, it makes it so much easy. Well, unfortunately, Hernan, we are out of time. Again, go out to ScaleDriven.com, find out more about what you can, again, do. He can do it for you, or he can do it with you. Hernan, thank you so much for being on. You shared a ton of good information. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it, Ken. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, ScaleDriven.com, go check that out. Guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And don't forget, as always, have a great week, but
become part of Mr. Biz Nation. Follow him on all social media platforms, or never miss a show by going to MrBizRadio.com. If you prefer free video content, visit the Mr. Biz YouTube channel, or check out his streaming channel, which is available on 100 plus streaming platforms at MrBizNetwork.com.